I am Daniel Lukis, and welcome to Geography 101. Geography 101 is all about the places that I visited from Europe, Caribbean, North America, South America, Asia, and a lot more. And today, I have my special guest. He's one of the best jazz singer and pianist, no other than Mr. DellaRatta.
Hey, how are you, Daniel? Thanks for having me today.
Yes, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Rick. And can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Rick DellaRatta, and I'm the founder of Jazz for Peace, which is a combines the art form of jazz and philanthropy to help the world's outstanding causes with a benefit concert series of which I participate as the pianist and the composer and the vocalist, and also helps donate musical instruments to children all over the world and bring music back into the schools.
Yes. So, which part of the globe we're gonna start with, Mr. Rick?
Um, well, we've been everywhere, so it's really up to you. I mean, we've been everywhere from, Africa to India to Scandinavia, to California.
Oh my goodness, I love Scandinavian countries.
Well, we brought Jazz for Peace. I've been to Scandinavia numerous times. Actually, I've bet the very first place I performed overseas before Jazz for Peace, when I was just the very first time I ever performed outside of the United States was actually in Iceland, and
Oh,
yeah, so I performed in Iceland, and then the next time I was in Scandinavia, it was for 4 months tour of Sweden. Then I was again in Norway, um, near the fjords of Norway. I believe it was called Ålesund or something like that. Then I
yes.
was back in Norway again, touring for 3 months. 1 month was in Oslo, and then 2 months in all different parts of Norway. And then I went to Finland to play a concert after my CDs came out in my own name. I went to Finland to play a concert for the Jazz Awards, and then they added a second concert at the Presidential Palace. And myself and my bassist and my drummer, they took us through all the checkpoints and into the Presidential Palace, where they created a concert hall out of the living room. And then we played a concert, and I got a tour by the president, who was a woman, and she gave me a private tour of the whole Presidential Palace, which had a waterfall in it. Then the last time I went to Scandinavia was finally with Jazz for Peace to help promote one of their outstanding jazz artists and help him to get more international publicity than just being known as, a hero in, his own country.
Go and forth in Scandinavia. So, what are the things that you observe regarding the weather or regarding the situation?
Well, what's going on right now in the Scandinavian countries is they have the opportunity to drill for oil because sea ice has melted. And because the sea ice is melted, it is exposed areas for drilling where they have drilled and discovered oil. The problem is, most of the people who study the situation feel that it's putting all of these fossil fuels back in the air that is part of the reason for the sea ice melting. So, it's a very bad situation where you're now able to extract more fossil fuels, which caused an extinction 1 million years ago. Now they're in the ground, but you're now putting them back into the air, where they originally caused an extinction, back at that time when all the dinosaurs died, etc. So now what happens then is kind of a bit of hypocrisy. Some countries like Norway will discover all this oil, but then to convince everyone that they are trying to solve the problems that we have with not having green energy and not being able to address the situation. They now have electric cars in the entire country of Norway has electric cars. The problem with that is, number one, electric cars have a lot of they need a lot of parts that are very difficult to make in terms of affordability, and those are not, the carbon footprint is very large to make the electric cars. Secondly, in order to get the money to make the electric cars, they drilled the oil where they didn't used to be able to drill because it was sea ice, and they sold the oil to Africa. So they sold all this oil to Africa that's going to get burned anyway. Then they took that money and provided their country with electric cars to make it look like things were going in the right direction. Unfortunately, they're not, because, like I said, to get the electric cars, they had to sell the oil.
So, Mr. Rick, do you think, are we late for saving the Mother Earth?
Well, the problem is a lot of the concerns that some of the non-biased climate scientists are uncovering, we do not really have solutions for. And one of the biggest ones, I've addressed many times that my concern is sea ice, because, and I think, everyone looking at the situation feels that if the sea ice melts and sun goes directly into the ocean, it could create so much heating from it not reflecting off ice and going directly, the earth will be absorbing all that sunlight, that it will cause other tipping points like methane, etc. But one of the biggest ones that no one really talks about is the problem of something called global dimming. And this is a situation where basically they were studying something called the pan evaporation theory, and it was people all over the world. They would put the exact same of water into a pan, go outside and see how long it took the sun to evaporate the water, record that, and share all of that knowledge with the earth. And what they were able to find out by doing that was a problem where the pollution was actually helping us to not know the true warming of the earth, because the pollution was blocking the sun and thereby helping to keep the planet cooler than it would have otherwise been, even though it was still heating anyway. So now we have a situation in our hands, which was confirmed on 9/11. Actually, the day I wrote the poem Jazz for Peace was the day that the pan evaporation theory ended up finally being confirmed by scientists who had suspected it for many years. And that is because there were no planes in the sky in the United States for at least those couple of weeks. They were able to see that the particles fell out of the sky, and that created warmer temperatures. The sun was able to break through, whereas before it was being blocked by the pollution particles. So now we're in a situation where even if we were to address all of the pollution that we put into the sky, we would still have to put something up there, of which we have no clue, we have no alternative. We would have to put something to continue to block the sun, because if industrial activity stops, particles simply fall out of the sky and the earth warms even faster.
Wow, that's really chaotic. So, can you play a song or can you play a piece that signifies our chaotic world that we are facing right now?
Okay.
Bravo, Mr. Rick! One of a kind. So, as a founder of Just for Peace, what are the initiative or project to combat climate change?
Well, based on our studies, like I said, we tried to find unbiased people who were dedicated to the climate situation. And as I told you earlier, we actually gave an award to the climate scientist Guy McPherson, and we looked at what some of these different people had to say, especially the one that we gave the award to. And one of the messages that really resonated with us is that this is a opportunity that we as a species have to raise our total consciousness. And this is part of the Jazz for Peace poem too. It's also part of my famous quote that says, if we fill up our souls with creativity and artistry and intellectuality and spirituality and things of those nature, we'll have a better chance to avoid the behavior that leads to destruction. So now we really need to raise people's spirit and consciousness, enlightenment and empowerment, with the hope that these kinds of positive energies will give us the best chance to address these problems and these situations. Even if a problem is unsolvable, okay, there's a positive way to address it and a peaceful way, and there's a destructive way. And now, with so much destruction around us, we really need to set the example as human beings and avoid the behavior that leads to destruction. And the only way to do that is with our hearts and our spirits. And like my now famous quote says, to fill our souls with our greatest qualities so that we can, fight these issues to our best capabilities with, creativity, artistry, humanity, intellectuality, and so on.
Yes, very well said, Mr. Rick. But before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening to my ranking tops of the last 30 days. And in Poland, I got 29 spot on Apple chart, Finland at 47 spot, Canada at 52 spot, Netherlands at 60 spot, and the Philippines at 125 spot. Thank you for supporting this podcast because this podcast is created to empower the planet itself, the geography itself of our Mother Earth. So, Mr. Rick, how and when did you establish Jazz for Peace?
Well, I started Jazz for Peace really by accident on the morning of 9/11 because I happened to receive a phone call from a photographer who had been photographing me the day before. And she was down on Wall Street and she told me that there was a serious problem going on down where she works. And I ran up to my roof, the top of my roof, to take a look. And I was located less than a quarter of a mile away from the World Trade Center with a perfect, almost like a luxury box seat sight of this tragedy. And when I ran up on the roof, what I saw was I knew that my life needed to change that my life was going to change whether I liked it or not, but also that I needed to react in the most powerful and positive way. And the only thing I had at the end of that day was a bunch of words that I had scribbled on a piece of paper. And I called that poem Jazz for Peace. And it began there and it just kept going from one thing to another to another. Eventually, it led to a concert at the United Nations where I brought together Israeli, Palestinian, and American jazz musicians, a benefit concert series all around New York City that led to a letter from the mayor, who was Michael Bloomberg at that time, commending me for my work and telling me I needed to continue forward. So I heeded his advice and started to take it all across the state and all across the country. And the next thing I knew, I was receiving letters from people like Barack Obama and people as far away as one of the top people in Brazil and the Prime Minister of Kenya and all kinds of people. So I started to take the benefit concert series all over the world. We actually only this past year we got back from our 9th trip to Africa. And that's just that one continent. We've been, like I said, not only Scandinavia, but Europe and India and Nepal and Pakistan and Canada, where you are a couple times, and, South America and you name it.
Yes, very well said, Mr. Rick. So, what are the long term and short term goals of Jazz for Peace?
Well, the long-term goals, we want to continue our benefit concert series, helping outstanding causes, because we really believe that if we can identify the world's greatest causes who are committed to solving their problems, that we'll probably find that there is an outstanding cause for every problem we have in the world. And if we can only help them, we can reach all of those that they are helping. So that is a policy we have called Helping Those Who Are Helping Others. We also have an educational program that tries to bring music back into the schools, and also instrument donation program. But the short-term goals are really to stand up for our rights before we lose them. And 3 of those rights are tied in a situation related to the captivity of Julian Assange. And one of them is freedom of speech. We really can't lose that right. It's very important that we keep it. The other one is the bombing of innocent civilians, because if we attack the people who write about the bombing of innocent civilians, then there's going to be nobody to stop the bombing, because there'll be nobody to report it. So we have to let journalists do their job, and we have to stand up for journalistic integrity. Journalists who are free to write what the truth is need to be protected. And then, the last one is, the last one is the actual bombing of innocent civilians. So it's those three things. It's to protect the integrity of journalism, the bombing of innocent civilians and children, women and children in wartime, and freedom of speech. And so all of these pieces that I'm playing for you, including the one that I just played, are titled Free JA, and they are freely improvised, made up on the spot. I could never play them again. And the only way someone could hear this piece that I just played is to come to your podcast and listen to it.
Yes, I'm very grateful, Mr. Rake. So, what are the vision and mission of Jazz for Peace for this 21st century?
The vision, well, we would like to, we're very much online with what the climate scientists are saying that we need to do as well. And that is, we want people to embrace our greatest qualities, fill up their souls with these great qualities, so that they are in a position to do what we have been doing for the last 20 years. And that is to help others, to enrich ourselves by helping others. I think if other people see that that's where the true wealth really lies, then they'll trade their greedy, their greedy pathways, which aren't getting them anywhere except spiritually bankrupt, to this wealthy pathway, which makes them feel valuable and makes them feel like they are really achieving something on the inside.
Yes, very well said, Mr. Rake. So, can you play a piece for the vision and mission of Jazz for Peace?
Okay. So what I'll do with this is I'll take a song that because it's a long road that we have ahead of us. So I'm going to take a Beatles song called The Long and Winding Road, and then I'm going to go from that song into this free improvisation. The long and winding road that leads to your door will never disappear. I've seen that road before. It always leads me here. Lead me to your door. Many times I've been alone. Many times I've cried. Anyway, you'll never know the many ways I've tried. But still they lead me back to the long winding road. You left me standing here a long time ago. Don't leave me waiting here. Lead me to your door.
Rick Echelante. So, Mr. Rick, what do you think? What is the legacy of Jazz for Peace to the world?
Well, I think Jazz for Peace, I think the message of Jazz for Peace is going to outlive me, that's for sure. And I think the legacy of Jazz for Peace ultimately is that we don't have to be dependent on governments and states and other people to solve all of our problems. Maybe some of them we need them for, but a lot of our problems we can actually solve ourselves via enlightenment and empowerment, because we can always improve ourselves, and then we can always help those who are helping others. And not only that, but a lot of people feel like they have to be a billionaire or a millionaire in order to make a difference in the world. Actually, in order to make a difference in the world, all you need to do is listen to this podcast, and then at the end of it, send an email to Jazz for Peace with whatever your thoughts are about what you just heard in this podcast. And you would send it to info@jazzforpeace.org, which is our email address. And you can also go to our website if you want to do some more and just, watch a few videos and listen and read. But at some point, you send us an email and tell us who you are, and we will incorporate you into something that will help at wherever your point of entry is, to help make our world better. It could be as a VIP guest of honor at one of our events, or it could be by helping another outstanding cause by referring them to us, or it could be with a cause that you're already related to, where we can show you how to grow that, how we grow that empowerment tree and raise funds for that outstanding cause, along with publicity and awareness, helping your organization expand your donor base, reward the supporters that you have, get sponsors at the local level and at the national level, new and prestigious supporters, publicity and awareness, all things that are part of our empowerment tree that we grow. And honestly, anyone can be a part of it.
Yes, people, let's support Just for Peace, because this for our future, for our generation to come. So, Mr. Rick, what do you think, aside from climate change, what are another problem that we are facing right now?
Well, we're also facing some economic problems. And part of the reason is because we are drowning in fraud and even bigger hypocrisy. So we have a lot of situations where, things are, entities are captured by the actual people that we are supposed to be, that the organization is supposed to protecting the people against. So we have a lot of situations where an organization is receiving funding from the profiteering corporation that they're supposed to be protecting us from. And so how are they going to protect us if that's where they're getting their funding? So there's systemic hypocrisy. You can find it in the music industry. We just did an NFT, and that NFT is called The Hypocrisy That No One Cares About. And you can see systemic fraud just in the music industry alone from that. But it's all over the place, every industry. The good news is we're in something called the fourth turning, where you can actually solve your problems just by seeing that the problem you're facing is so upside down that all you need to do is the opposite and you'll fix it. A perfect example is our trickle-down economy. Right now we have a trickle-down economy. It helps a few really rich people, and good for them. But a lot of the outstanding causes that need funds, people that need funds to do good deeds and good work and help our communities, they get the money last. And so not much trickles down to them. And they spend so much time waiting for those trickles that they're unable, there's no time left in the year for them to even do the job they need to do by the time it takes to get the funding. So you can solve that by having a trickle up economy that is philanthropic go along in conjunction with our trickle down economy. So you can, at the same time you have this trickle down economy that we already have, you can introduce a trickle up economy, which Jazz for Peace already has, the blueprints for, with a cryptocurrency called Trickle. And basically, our idea is you provide this currency to the outstanding causes so that they get it first. As they spend it in order to fulfill their mission, whatever that mission is, to make our world better, our communities better, our people better, that currency trickles up instead of trickle down. And so you see how simple it is. So that's the great news. A lot of our problems are, the solution is actually relatively simple. It's to just introduce something that is the opposite of what is already in place. And you don't even have to get rid of what you have. You just need to introduce, in this case, trickle up for philanthropic purposes.
Yes. So can you play a piece for that introduction?
Yes, that I can do.
Bravo, Mr. Rick. One of a kind. So, what do you think? How to empower people so that uh, they will support us, or they will support the vision and mission of Just for Peace?
Well, the best thing we can do is for, someone who knows about Jazz for Peace to tell someone else. That's the best way. And basically, our motto is if you know who we are, we can help you. The problem with knowing who we are is that people are kind of brainwashed and a little bit gaslighted into thinking that society, if there's anything they need to know, society is going to tell them. Well, now people are really waking up to the fact that, our media and all of our messages basically come from a handful of companies who have products to sell, and they have a mandate to, a profit motive that they have to go after. So they don't have time to tell you everything that you need. What they have time to do is tell you something that's going to help them sell their vaccines or their toothpaste or whatever it is that they need you to buy from them. So you have to realize that when you have interesting news, you need to share it with others. And that's where wonderful things like this podcast comes in, where someone who's listening to this podcast can say, hey, I might not be affiliated with an outstanding cause, but maybe I have a friend who is. Maybe I know somebody, and they can share this podcast with other people with outstanding causes. And that way people can find out, because once again, our motto is Jazz for Peace. If you know who we are, we can help you, because we don't know who you are. No, there's no mechanism to tell us who the outstanding people are that are in need. We have no way of knowing. And so once you know who we are, that's and what we do, and understand our program, that's when we can help you.
Definitely. So, can you play a piece for the motto of for Just for Peace?
Okay.
Bravo, Mr. Rick, one of a kind. So, can you please invite our listeners to support Jazz for Peace?
Sure. So, of course, the easiest way to support Jazz for Peace, you can simply go to our website, which is jazzforpeace.org. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a little donation button, and you can click on it. And then what you can do is drink one less cup of coffee and send that little amount to Jazz for Peace, and we would be greatly appreciated. That's pretty easy. And then, of course, all of the other ways are even more wonderful. And like I said, those are to look at what we do, scroll around on the website, maybe even after you make your donation, look around and see what we do and see if you know of someone that we can help. And like I said, word of mouth is always the greatest thing. It's always the best way to do anything. And help us help you simply by reviewing what we do and telling other people to do the same. And then once you have a little bit of information, simply contact us. Of course, you can find out about me personally more at my website, which is rickdelaratta.com. And you can always do some little things like type in Rick DellaRatta famous quote and see that quote that we had talked about. And of course, once you do something like that, a whole bunch of other things show up, things that I don't even know about myself. And you can check those out. Sometimes they're very interesting as well.
Yes, thank you for your time, Mr. Rick, and thank you for those lovely piece that you created for this podcast.
It's my pleasure and honor, Daniel. My pleasure.
Modicon people, see you soon.